Right here,
Jack.
welcome back to week 2 of our MMT's meditation sessions.
Yeah, welcome guys.
We hope you've all had a good week. Just while we wait for some people to trickle in over the next minute or so, we might just start off with a couple of points that we thought we'd bring in from last week. First up, we want to say thank you just to everyone who tuned in.
Thanks guys, really appreciate it. That was the best.
It was pretty amazing. There's heaps of the MMT crew was there, so thanks to you guys. Thanks to my family as well, a bunch of them tuned in. That was pretty sweet.
My family, yep, absolutely. You guys rock.
And also a couple special thank yous. This goes out to Ricky, Rob, William and Ritesh. We all got some comments from you guys just on the video, that you saying you all enjoyed it. That was pretty sick to see. Meant a lot to us, I suppose. You know, it was our first session, it was something new, so really appreciate that support.
I'm just getting the chat up so that I can see what's kind of going on in the chat as we go as well, so we'll be able to see any comments or anything like that you guys have.
Yeah, cool. As
we're doing this.
Das makes a quick adjustment to get the camera to make sure that we've got everything on screen.
Oh, hey Ash, hey Matt, hey Zach. Thanks for your support, guys.
Cheers, great to see you back. As Jack sorts this out as well, one question we had last week was somebody asked us which timer app we were using. So that was Insight Timer is what it's called. So for anybody who's wondering that, it's a really great meditation timer.
Yeah, Insight Timer, and we'll actually at the end of this we'll tag that in the top comments of the video, so if you want to go back and have it there as a point of reference. Highly recommend it. It's epic. It's one of the best meditation apps out there, I reckon. Easily. And it's totally free, so sweet. Cool.
And so one last thing maybe before we jump into our first meditation, we just thought we'd ask, at the end of last week we did mention we were talking about how useful even a small amount of meditation can be. And we mentioned just trying. Did anybody get?
Yeah. So everyone knows, Das is just rearranging our camera a little bit, so hopefully you can see us all properly. How did you guys go with that? Any luck? Anyone who's been doing it regularly, did you manage to maybe get a little bit more regular? Because ultimately all it comes down to is practice, guys. That's really what we want to try and hone in, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
It's repetition.
And so if there is anyone who tried this or had challenges, chuck it in the comments. We'll make sure we have a look at it as we check them over the clip. But otherwise, I reckon let's jump straight into it.
Cool.
So just like we did last week, we're going to have our first meditation. We're going to sit, and we're not going to have any guidance or anything. This one's just going to be quiet, and as we sit quietly. Again, as we said last week, if you have your own practice or ideas that you want to work with, feel free to bring those in. If you're new to meditation, try sitting still, see how you go.
Hey Blake.
Hey
Thanks
dude.
for tuning in.
See how you go. This one's just, quite short, and then we're going to get into some technique and stuff like that afterwards. And so let's do it. Let's start the timer. It's going to be 7 minutes. Good luck. We'll see you on the other side.
Awesome. See you in 7 minutes, guys. Oh, welcome back, everybody. How are you feeling after that one, Scott?
Yeah, good. I think maybe getting a little bit easier doing this on YouTube than last week. My mind felt a little bit lighter, so that's nice. How about you?
Yeah, totally. Actually, I feel like I probably should have done that before we started. I feel a lot better now, but yeah, I didn't realize how like agitated I was feeling beforehand. There was I felt like there was a lot happening just before, like right at the start of when we started that 7 minutes. It was kind of like I found myself like, oh, there's that going on over there.
Yeah.
Took a little while to sink into it. But yeah, that probably leads quite nicely into what you actually wanted to talk about this week, which is concentration.
Yeah.
So what do you mean when you're talking about particularly developing concentration? You want to talk about what do you mean when you're talking about developing concentration?
Yeah, cool. So, yeah, as you mentioned, concentration was an idea I had for bringing in as a bit of a theme today, and when I talk about concentration in terms of meditation, what it means to me, it's about learning to training our mind developing the ability to concentrate, but in saying that, it's about settling. For me, is a word that resonates a lot. As you may notice, as we start to meditate, we often notice that our mind is here and there, and there's a noise, and here's a thought, and this is a sensation, and boom, 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 ha, 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 and it's going everywhere. And as we sit more, we start to develop concentration, and our mind starts to settle. And the more it settles, the less it becomes about moving every which way seemingly at random, but we start to be able to direct it, because that movement, that automatic movement starts to settle down, and we can hold it for a prolonged period on one place, or we can move it ourselves.
Cool, man. And I mean, that's kind of like I can already think of a bunch of different ways that would be useful, but why do you think it would be it's a good idea to improve our ability to do that?
So in terms of that, I guess I think of in two sides of it, although there's many of them, I suppose. But one, when we talk about just during our meditation, one thing that I feel is important maybe, or very beneficial to learn about for people who are starting out, is that as that concentration improves and our mind starts to settle, the experience as we meditate starts to shift. And I don't know if you'd agree with this. I feel you probably would.
I definitely
but
experienced that.
As that concentration improves, that's when sitting still goes from being a bit of an agitated, uncomfortable experience, and we start to feel, for me, it's often a bit more open. There's a lot more pleasant sensations to it. And so I feel like developing that concentration is a bit of that entry into enjoying meditation. And so that's one side. And then that flip side is in normal life, because there's no point in meditating if it's not going to improve life, the day-to-day life. That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It seems to be kind of the point, right? Like it's just like exercising, you get something out of that. So what, is there anything in particular you want to talk about with the actual, what you got, or what your experience of the change in your ability to concentrate has been that you've got from meditation?
Yeah, so I feel as though, and I think this one, it's probably easier to imagine than the changes that you experience while meditating until you experience those. But as your concentration gets better, you can do the things that matter to you, that you feel are really important, more. If there's some goal that you have that you want to work towards, it's easier to put more energy into it, because you don't run out of energy and your mind doesn't start wandering after. Instead of maybe getting 20 minutes of good, productive work on something that really matters to you, maybe you start to get 25, 30, 40, an hour, and so anything that is those really important things you want to work towards, you start to be able to put more energy into it before you run out of energy and then just sit on YouTube and scroll or whatever it is. And what would you say? What are the sort of benefits or anything? Is there anything else you want to add to that comes to mind?
Oh man, I actually had a really awesome experience of this today. A couple of years ago, before I started doing this, I found it really difficult to focus on anything for other than video games and TV. I found it really difficult to focus on anything that wasn't super stimulating like that for more than I don't know, let's say like 20 minutes, half an hour. Like studying was like beyond me. But just today, like I sat down and I worked for like 4 straight hours on a project that I'm putting together and just like typing and moving stuff around, and I was just fully immersed in it like the rest of the world did not exist.
It's amazing.
4 straight hours, man. I didn't even get up and like have a break or anything. It's just like, yep, I'm just doing this.
Incredible.
It was awesome. Yeah. So the only reason I stopped was because my computer shut down halfway through, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not doing that anymore. You know, but I guess like that's probably another thing that I've found is that like by honing your ability to focus on what's important to you, or ability to like concentrate, you can concentrate on what is important to you, and other stuff doesn't matter. It seemed to matter as much. Like exactly like that. I was like, oh, like a problem comes along. Oh, my computer shut down in the middle of while I was working. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll just do something else. I could, or like I'll just start it back up and continue. But I just decided that there was other things that I could be doing. You know, just find it easier to change track, and things that used to really bother me just do not bother me at all.
Amazing. Amazing.
90% of the time. Still human.
That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. Nice. Cool. So like moving on from, you know, why you might want to do it, I guess it brings us into the question of how. What's the process?
Yeah. And you've got some really interesting things I know you want to say on this too.
I hope they're interesting. The concept, and this is kind of the core concept I was originally thinking about when I was talking about having this conversation. In terms of developing that concentration, we use what's called a meditation object. And so the object of meditation, it is something that we choose to direct our attention towards, and then as we sit quietly, it's what we bring our attention back to. So basically when we're meditating with an object, if you choose what it is, and just to use probably the most classic example, which is breathing, our mind will do what it normally does and run around, and each time we remember, we bring it back and then continue to bring that awareness back to that breathing. And then it'll run off and we bring it back. And so working with a meditation object like this, as you can imagine, what we're doing is we're essentially just like training that concentration in the same way you might train a muscle, right?
Just picking a weight or an exercise and doing it.
Yeah, and it works in a similar way that the more you do it, the easier it gets. And it goes from maybe spending 1 or 2 seconds on the breathing to 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 10 minutes, you know? Not straight away, but there's a gap between 15 seconds and a minute, but it happens. And so it's by working with a meditation object like this that we start to train and hone that concentration. And so that is like the basic idea. And then within meditation, there is all sorts of different things that you can use for that object. And so what I wanted to do is introduce a few of them, and then maybe we can both have a bit of a discussion of meditation objects that we've used and that have been useful for us. And so like I feel like, as I mentioned, breathing is the classic, right? I feel like in
stock standard,
every tradition from every country, there's some element of using breathing, and then other things. There's a lot of people use body sensations, feelings that they have. There's mantras, visualizations. I feel like these are a lot of the ones that come to my mind. What else is there that you can think of?
I like to go to all kinds of places with this actually. So I play
take us there.
As you guys may have like noticed if any of you were on the last one, I do a lot with visualizations. But I also do things like I also like playing with like different sensations in my body, like focusing on a particular part of my body for a while. Like I was saying to Scott just before, I like have had some problems with my ankle this week, and one of the things I've actually been doing is combining mantra meditation and body awareness. So I'm choosing 2 objects, molding them into one, and so I'm focusing on my ankle and saying like my ankle is like fully functional, my ankle is like, you know, in optimal health and everything's working really well, and I'm really like focusing on that. And one of the things my mind in particular likes to do is like kind of like run away with stuff. So I was just doing these mantras, by the end of it, I was like, my mum was going, my ankle is like my right ankle is the gold standard of right ankles. Like there's no right ankle better than my right ankle. It was hilarious, and I just kind of like rolled with it. But another really interesting thing with that that I've found, and one of the reasons I do that, is that pain is a really interesting thing to meditate on sometimes. And one of the ways I like to do that is I'll just kind of like, I might do like a body scan, which is just paying attention to different parts of your body. So my meditation object is my body, and slowly working through different parts of it, either normally from like head down or feet up. And then if there's anywhere that's like that hurts, or anywhere that I feel like there's like something going on, I'll focus on that part and just really tune into those sensations. Like if it's pain, like what kind of pain is it? Like what does it actually feel like? Is it really like localized, or is it kind of radiating out? Is there a temperature? Like is it hot or cold, or is it just does it feel tight, or does it feel like I don't know, bruised or whatever, and get like a sense of what that is. And if it's, just kind of like be with that for a while. And then I actually like to ask sometimes, because one of the amazing things about, again, training your mind to concentrate on stuff is your mind does this anyway, but when you're in meditation, especially, your mind is really good at answering whatever questions you ask it. So what I will ask in these meditations especially is there anything that this pain or this part of my body is trying to tell me? Cool. Is there anything that wants to be communicated? And I'll just sit with that for as long as it takes, and just give it some space. Sometimes it's nothing. Also, depends how long it is until my timer goes off. So, but that can be a really fun one to play with and really interesting. And I don't know, like I've also been doing other things, but I feel like it's helped quite a bit. I have no scientific evidence for that, per se, but it feels great. It feels great. It's awesome. Like I'll stand up after like 20 minutes of doing that, and my ankle feels on point, and I'm not anything else.
Amazing.
So
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I mean, studies are great, but like if that's working for you, it's working for you, right?
It's a case study. It's not like the best, but it's something.
Yeah. Nice. Amazing. Pain is definitely an interesting one. I suppose to speak a little bit again about some of my experiences with different objects.
Yeah, please.
I have spent a lot of time using the breath and breathing. And I guess what I wanted to talk about a little bit with this is like, in the same way when you were talking just now about how you can kind of really be inquisitive about what's going on with that pain and look into it. When you're working with something like the breathing or any object really, there's so much more going on. It's so much more layers of like intricate things that you can become aware of if you pay attention. So much more information comes to the surface. And so like, for example, I feel like when I first started meditating, I was like, I guess I got to watch the breath, and I just tried doing it. What I've noticed over the years, it's like I have developed notice all sorts of different sensations with it. And I even have found I have a few different ways, for example, of how I work with the breathing. And so I'll often find that I sit down and I'll focus on this area here where I have a lot of sensations that I notice. Not always the most comfortable. Sometimes it feels quite blocked and it doesn't feel like it's moving great, but it's kind of somewhere that I can focus and notice straight away to get me in. But then I'll often change and then focus my attention here, which is quite a classic, especially a lot of my training comes through, it's like a Buddhist practice, and quite a few lineages and traditions within this will focus specifically in this area and the feeling of the breath going in and out the nose. And so that feeling sometimes of the little buzzing or just a little bit of movement as the air goes through the nostrils in and out. And so what I find is that as my mind becomes concentrated, I can concentrate on here, and then it helps me to get more so. But if I'm not, and I try to concentrate on here, my mind bounces off over and over again. And if I try and come to here too quickly, it never works. It never goes anywhere. And I've learned that I need to open my awareness, if that makes sense, and use a broader object. So by focusing on the expansion and contraction of my torso, it's easier for me to concentrate on. So it gives me something that I can grasp and I can start out and work with And sometimes that'll settle me more, that I can start to get finer and start to move from that more gross and larger sensation into a much like finer and more subtle one. And I guess that's just like an example of the way that I've learned to work with my meditation object to kind of demonstrate it. I mean, it's an idea for anyone to use, but also to give an idea that I think as we all work with these techniques with more time, just as you gave an example of something that you've put a few different things together as well.
Always.
You can explore and experiment and find, ways that work for you. So on that point, I suppose it's like, if I feel that if you're new to meditation, it's an easy question to ask, like, what should I do? What should I pick? And
Start with breath.
And I feel like
it's super straightforward. It's always there. It's always changing. And so it really, and because it's often like really rhythmic, and the more you meditate, the longer you're meditating for, the more rhythmic it becomes. By focusing on it, the easier it actually is to get into a meditative state. I find personally that's like there's a reason that's like there is a reason why that's the stock standard one, because it's one of the easiest and one of the best, because there's so many different facets to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. The only case I would suggest otherwise is if there's something else that you feel looks more interesting to you.
Chop and change, guys. Like pick and choose, mash stuff together. I actually like on that, like how like sometimes I was just noticing before in the little meditation we did just then, I sometimes will kind of like run through a few and see what feels best in the moment.
Yeah, cool, nice.
Sometimes I find it easier to focus on my breath. Sometimes I find it easier to focus on sounds. Sometimes I find it easier to focus on my body, or like a question that I have, or all kinds of stuff. Really, like just find what feels best and just keep bringing your mind back to it. That's pretty much all there is to it.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. And so this is, I suppose, one last thing before we move on and meditate again, is a question to like how to work with that meditation object. And when I say that, what I'm referring to is almost how strict I suppose to be in terms of trying to bring your mind back to it, because there's two ends of the spectrum in terms of how to work with it, and you can find teachers who teach both ends, right? One of them is to sit down and say, I am going to sit with this meditation object for every second of this meditation, and every time I realize that I'm not there, I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to hang on to it as tightly as I can, and we're using a lot of effort in this, and that's perfectly valid, and it's a way to work with the meditation object, and you can try it, and you can really try to hold on. At the other end of the spectrum is the complete opposite, and you can say, I understand that I'm supposed to keep my mind on the meditation object, so when I remember, I'll chuck my mind there, and otherwise let it do its thing, and occasionally just kick it back a bit. And I definitely went through confusion. I felt like when I started out, I'm like, what's better? Am I gonna get no results if I don't do the right one? And it took me a long time to realize that anywhere on that whole spectrum works, and the best thing to do is find out what works for you. I have some days where I'll try to be quite strict with it. I'll have other days where I just like toss it to the curb and just check it occasionally and let my mind wander more. And I think that playing with that spectrum and trying different types on different days, or different amounts of effort to try and stick with it, is a really positive way to build a bit of variety into it. It also helps because then it means that you can be a bit easier on yourself on days that don't have the energy to maybe try and push yourself too hard, but you can still just like sit still, be quiet, allow the mind to wander a bit, but still meditate instead of just watching TV or something. Do you have anything else to add to that, Jack?
I think I would just add, like, notice, especially if you're starting out, notice which one you feel more drawn to and go with that. However, once you're like a bit more practiced, or if you just feel like a bit of variety, maybe like try going to the places that are less familiar and feel less comfortable. because there's probably a lot of really good stuff there for you to learn. And coincidentally, practicing one type often makes you a lot better at the other as well. Maybe not like as much, but you will definitely get benefits to both styles by picking one of them. So picking the heavier one, if you will, the harder one, will often make the other one like give it a huge boost, especially if it's super easy and you're not seeing a whole lot of progress there.
Yeah, for sure. Cool, amazing.
Awesome. Before we jump into the next meditation, hey Jarek, hey Ritesh,
Hey guys.
Hey Maddie, hey Prue, and hey Navi. Navi's actually got a question. Can you teach us a massage for down part of the abdominals or down the stomach part, please? Interesting. I can actually, I'll show you like a quick thing that you might like to try during this next meditation, because we'll be focusing on the breath. And a lot of breath actually comes through the lower abdominals, especially as the diaphragm moves down. But when you add, I'll just invite you, Navi, in particular, and anyone else who wants to give this a try, throughout this meditation, you might just want to have your hands on your lower abdominals and potentially either just leave them there, hold them there so you can feel your breath moving in and out a little bit easier, or you might even want to move in a, is that clockwise or counterclockwise? From the right side up and down the left side, and move in circles around there. And that's going to be tracing the pathway of your large intestine, which is going to help with digestion and just feel quite nice. You don't want to move it the other way for hopefully fairly obvious reasons. You don't have to press very hard with that, by the way, but that will also just ease any kind of help to ease any abdominal discomfort that you might be feeling or anything like that as well.
Cool, nice one.
Awesome, I hope that answers your question. Cool, so without further ado, we've done our practice meditation and we've talked fairly extensively actually about concentration and using different kinds of meditation objects. And we've also mentioned that there's various different kinds of breath that you can focus on. So you might want to start getting yourself nice and comfy and start to bring your attention to, maybe even start to bring your attention to your breath now. Because we're just going to focus on that for the next little while. You can adjust your position to make sure that you're nice and comfortable, and you can let your eyes begin to gently close and relax your shoulders, relax your face, and relax your jaw as you follow the rhythm of your breath, allowing yourself to just drift on its flow. And you don't need to listen too closely to what I'm saying as you continue to follow your breath. You can let it all just wash over you as you keep your attention rested softly with your breath, knowing that you need only take any suggestions or prompts that feel good and right and true in your body, and that any that don't can simply pass you by, like your breath that drifts out and away with every exhalation. Bring your attention now to the rate of your breath. Just observe without controlling
speed at which you are breathing. Is it fast or slow? Regular, or is there some variation? Notice the depth of your breath. Are you breathing in little sips, shallowly? Or are you breathing deep down into your body? Or anywhere else? Maybe the sides of your ribs, or the front of your chest. And notice now the movement of your abdomen as you continue to breathe. Can you feel your belly rising and falling? Moving like a wave, rising up and crashing down as you continue to follow your breath. Bring your attention to your chest. Can you feel the movement of your rib cage? Can you feel your chest opening with your inhalation? Collapsing with your exhalation. Feel the sides, and front, and back, and top of your rib cage. Your diaphragm underneath. Pumping like a bellows, helping to move your blood and lymph throughout your body. Moving with every breath. And notice where you are breathing from. Are you breathing through your mouth or through your nose? Can you feel the difference in temperature between the air you inhale and the air a sense of expansion that comes with every inhale. And the complementary contraction that comes with every exhale. Expanding on the way in, relaxing on the way out. And notice how, just like your breath, life is a process of expansion and contraction. How in life, sometimes we breathe in, we expand, we grow bigger, we move outwards, we go forth, and we take up space. And how sometimes we breathe out, we move inwards, we retreat and relax and rest. And it's funny, isn't it? How just like the breath, there are so many things to notice about yourself. Each like a facet of an illustrious jewel, twinkling, reflecting, and refracting light in continually dazzling and fascinating ways. Drift out into the future, flowing forward on the flow of your breath. On the wind of your breath. Out to a particular time in the future. And I wonder just how many things you will notice. How many dazzling and fascinating things you will find about yourself, about others, and about the world. When you have this now. As you continue to follow and float on the wind of your breath.
just ease back into the space. Following your breath all the way back up and into the room, ready for a fantastic night's rest. Maybe move your body a little if it feels good. And just gently taking as much time as you need coming back into the room.
Thanks, Jack.
That's all good, man. I love doing that.
That was great.
What have we got here? Oh, hey, Santiago. Hey, Ricky. Nice to have you guys both here. That's awesome. Thanks for signing up, by the way, Dash. Welcome to the party. I hope you guys all enjoyed that. That was heaps of fun. Thanks, Zach. Glad you liked it, man. That was really awesome. Did you have anything you wanted to add before we wrapped up tonight, Scott?
Maybe one last thing to say. This is a little bit in line with what we were talking about at the end of last week. One of the most important things with this is just trying to do it regularly. So again, just to finish with a reminder of for anyone who is interested in learning about it and exploring it more, the best thing that you can do is just try to do it a little bit regularly. So for anyone who doesn't do it anyone who doesn't have a practice, try to do it once or twice this week. For people who do it, maybe try to do an extra little bit. Just to leave with that encouraging thought. Just see how you go,
Yeah, totally. Maybe try, and if you do it regularly, maybe try bumping it up a little bit. If you manage to get it in every day this week, just for a minute or two, maybe bump it up to 5 minutes. See what happens. Slowly work your way up, and just keep on going.
But otherwise, thanks so much for joining us again. It's been a blast.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, sure has.
And we'll see you again same time next week.
Thanks, guys. See you later.